Hello, everyone, and welcome to another live podcast episode of the Stories About Fear podcast, our great bi monthly story about fear is going to be about how to love yourself unconditionally today. And I want to wish everyone, to all of you lovers and the ones that don't have lovers yet, happy Valentine's. I hope you have the most amazing and wonderful time with yourself. Yes, this is our great talk for today, and I'm so excited about this topic because I have been through hell and back trying to figure out what's with this love. What's happening? What is it that you need to do in order to be truly happy? And I'm going to tell you the outcome at the end of our episode. So stay tuned for a wonderful talk. I am Roxana Popet. I am a transformational speaker and a NLP trainer. And I have created Step on Your Fears in order to give you the courage, the the inspiration, and most of all the tools in order to become the best versions of yourself, to evolve in the most amazing way possible, and to also help you and show you how to step on your fears. I am very eager to teach you all of the most fantastic methods and easiest ones that you can put in practice so that you can thrive. Living a fear free life has been my long time ambition, and I am finally free. I can tell you with my hand on my heart, and those that can see me live on YouTube can also see me do this, that I am now a free person. I have my mind in my hands completely, and I want to teach you to do the same as well. You are here listening to me because you have had your share with a lot of issues in your relationships. You have maybe been blocked to ask someone you like to go out with you because you could have been afraid that they may not be liking you as much as you would like them once that they would get to know you. Or maybe you simply fear to get to know yourself better in order to begin to like yourself more, as in order to give love to the people around you. You first need to make sure that your box of love is full first. I didn't know this. I didn't know that I had to love myself first in order to have a healthy, beautiful relationship in the exterior. And I had some tremendous, awful love stories, which I may tell you a bit about towards the end. I'm going to tell you this in a very funny note anyway, because I have finally learned my lessons, and I am very, very curious to hear about your great, wonderful lessons in your love life as well, because I'll be having my podcast put all over on social media, so you may reply and we can have a great laugh together. And I want us to look at love as something that brings a lot of joy to our hearts. I want you to see love as one of the most humoristic and wonderful things that make you laugh, because if you take it too seriously, you may end up being a slave of love. And I want to tell you about a great, wonderful lady that I coached in 2020 in August. And she was married for around a year ago. She had a 1 year old son, and her main issue was that she could not make up her mind what is the next step in her relationship. She was afraid to put an end to it because her husband was cheating on her, and she tried to hide this from herself from far too long, and she was lacking courage in order to take that decision. She was basically afraid of being a single mom, afraid of not having enough income to support herself and her son, and this is understandable. And I had to ask her a lot of very intense questions to get to the bottom of the relationship. And as I began asking her about how is her relationship with herself, she was confused. She didn't know what to tell me. She had lost contact with herself, with her inner self, for far too long, as she had no idea how to describe who she was in relationship with yourself. And our talk that I have planned for today is going to give you all the reasons, the tools, and the great input that you need in order to put yourself first from now on, to love yourself so passionately that no one and nothing can stand in the way of you being happy with yourself, how to set the right boundaries, and most of all, how to know that you are on the best path that you could ever be in your relationships with the exterior, with the outside world. Now, the wonderful lady that I had coached last August, last year, was very amazed to find out that she needed to calm down her mind first in order to make sure that she listens what her heart has to say first. She discovered that she needed to use a different self-talk than she did before. She soon found out that unless she starts being her best friend, her strongest ally, the most strongest supporter she could ever have, she will not achieve much. Moreover, she would not achieve anything and she would end up alone for the rest of her life, because if her relationship with herself would not be based on pure, strong self love. If she did not start to appreciate herself, well, needless to say, her life would be an emotional mess as it was before she began coaching with me. And can I say I am extremely proud that she has come to the conclusion that she needs to change the way she talks with herself and to begin to appreciate and love herself? Yes, I can say that I'm extremely proud to have been able to guide her so that she is now a happy, free woman that is with her mind completely under her control. She has her personal power back in her hands, and she knows that any decision she takes from now on, it is all up to her, and she'll be 100% sure that it is the best decision she can take ever. Did she take back her courage? Yes, she did. And I could not be more proud and very, very inspired to be able to guide people that are completely convinced that they want to leave their fear behind, and they want 100% to start something new, something stronger, a new way of living a fear-free life. As I was telling you today, we are going to talk about how to love yourself unconditionally, how to have a very strong respect for yourself, for who you are, how to know yourself and to set up boundaries that get you living a fairy tale fear free life. Is that possible? You may ask yourself this as you are listening to me, and you may be wondering, why am I smiling? Because you can also feel it in my voice, although you can't maybe see me live on YouTube now. So make sure you check in on my YouTube account and get to see my live notifications. You may be wondering, why am I smiling when I talk about fear? Well, because I know it is very easy to deal with it once you have decided that this is what you want to do. Now, if you know my work so far, if you have read my book, if you have seen me in my videos, in my live sessions so far, you know that I always say that fear is equal to your mind. Yes, I'm going to tell this one more time. Fear equals your mind because it is negative by default. Our mind is created to look for problems, to make sure that it keeps you alive, to give you the most strongest and the most negative input on your life and on your experience, so that you can doubt any change that may arise. Your mind talks to you like this: well, you have been quite okay with all of the routines, with doing all that you've done so far. If you do anything that changes this, you may be in danger. You may even die. I don't want us to take any risk. Now, I know it may sound very strange for you to hear this if you haven't seen any of my work yet, but this is how our mind works in 99.99% of the cases, unless it is trained. And I'm going to teach you how to train your mind, so do not worry about anything for now. What I want you to think about is the fact that love is the opposite of fear. You either feel fear or you feel love. And is it maybe true when they say that when you're in love, you lose your mind? Well, when you're in love, you do lose fear, and fear being your mind, yes, I could say that it is possible that when you are in love, that you lose your mind. And I cannot begin to tell you how important the relationship you have with yourself is, why self love is so important. And in order for me to tell you all of the reasons, I may need to have this podcast for another 3 hours. So I'll make sure I stick to the most important whys of them all. Well, first of all, if you lack self love, it is impossible that you have any healthy relationships with anyone on the exterior at all. It is mainly not real to think, not realistic to think that if you talk to yourself in a negative way, if you are more pessimistic than you would like yourself to be. It's impossible to create anything. You are not creative when you have self doubt. When your self esteem is very low, you get into relationships that, instead of uplifting you, they take you down because your mind, your thoughts attract more of what you already have inside your mind. You know, I always say that you need to question everything, especially your own thoughts, because even if you have them there, it doesn't mean they're yours. It doesn't mean that they define you in any way. And I want you to think of your mind talking to you like a worried mother would when you want to go out. It's late, it's night, and your mom starts to be very upset. She is very worried, and she gets to be extremely aggressive with trying to convince you. If you get to be more and more resistant, if you deny anything that she says, well, guess what? You are not going to get out that easy. However, if you start talking to your mother in a very gentle, nice, and understanding way, telling her that you understand her worries, that you acknowledge everything that she says, and that she's also true, you get to agree with what she says, then the chances of you going out that evening are basically getting higher and higher. And it is not a way of making sure that you manipulate anyone, not even your mind. I'm going to teach you shortly how to get to understand that your mind is only there to help you. I want you to start seeing it as your best friend, your ally, even your strongest bodyguard that has the sole role of keeping you healthy, keeping you safe, keeping you away from any harm. And in order to do this, I want to tell you some short stories. I told you that these stories would be funny about my personal love life, and I could not even call it a love life as I did not love myself, so I had no idea how to deal with this. I had a lot of self doubt, a lot of frustration growing up, and many, many limiting beliefs as I grew up in a pattern of fear and in maybe in an even stronger pattern of lack. My mindset was not being dealt with in a proper way as I could not blame anything from the exterior. I could not blame the system or my family or school. It just happens that when we are young, unless we have some very strong role models that could guide us, that could lead us towards a path of gratitude, of self love, of valuing ourselves, of having strong values in our life or even in our future careers. As a young person, it is very difficult to find the way to know who you are, to know yourself, because you get very easily distracted. Was I distracted from myself? What do you think? Now, if you've listened to the first episode, you know that my path with fear, with finding out who I was not easy at all. On the contrary, I was a very shy young lady growing up, and I had basically no idea at all what love means. I did not see any pure love in the persons I have around me. the role models that I had back then would be very far away from a healthy relationship in any way. You can call it a healthy relationship that maybe a mom has with her son or an uncle has with his niece. But I was maybe a bit too scared to dig more into this family life, into what marriage, into what a healthy relationship means, as I have seen a lot of suffering around me. And my filters back then, my mind would believe that anything that may happen wrong in this world could happen to me. And the first relationship that I had was a complete disaster. It was a fiasco, as I did not know how to say no. I had no idea how to put boundaries and how how far along I would go with trying to please and be careful here and to even impress the other person that was in front of me with things that were not necessarily defining me, just so that I could be liked. I had this very acute fear of not being liked, of not being tolerated, without even saying the fear of not being loved. I can only mention that I was basically scared of not being dumped. And what do you think happened? All of my relationships ended with me being dumped. I was actually afraid of being cheated on and afraid of being dumped. What happened in a few weeks after each relationship I would go through? I would be dumped and sometimes even being cheated on, because this is all that my mind would have rolling inside of my mindset. Of course, we are what we think, what we put focus on is what happens on the outside and even on the inside. And unfortunately, until I began my path with personal development, I had no idea how to learn my lessons from this. And it was dump after dump. After being dumped for so many times, I had finally began to ask myself some questions. Well, you'd say it took you a while. Yes, it took me around 6 years, 6 years of being dumped, of being very fearful. And the truth is that I did not know what to do. The only question I had asking myself was, Dear God, why is this happening to me? This is the very classic scenario where the young lady is very upset and she is constantly asking divinity to give her a sign. Well, luckily, the divinity was there for me this time. And as soon as I discovered that I had no self respect, I needed to make sure that the way I talk to myself, how I set boundaries, is what I need to do. And it was a tough journey. I cannot tell you it was easy, because I want to be very real with you. Our podcast is called Stories About Fear because these friendly stories that I'm telling you have the sole purpose of inspiring you about what to do next or what not to do. Please take only the good, the best examples that I have for you. And let's continue with some great tools that I discovered, that I implemented on myself. And myself, who is now the very proud owner, the extremely valuable title owner of the self love, the best relationship that I could have with myself. After developing some great 3 steps. Now, you cannot start loving yourself just like that from the beginning. Let's face it, if you have been putting yourself down with maybe expressions such as, oh, I don't know what to do next. I am confused. I am pretty scared to think of what the future holds. I can't do anything right. With this kind of talk that gets you down without even you being aware that it does this, you cannot go directly to self love, not just like that, but in around a week or two. And I say a week or two because it depends on you. How strongly do you want to get yourself to start improving the relationship with yourself and then to start loving yourself unconditionally? You need to decide right now that this is the thing that you need to do. Unless you do this, you are going to be confused, you are going to be wondering why is life so difficult for you when it comes to your love life. And I want you to put in practice all of this wonderful advice that I have for you, especially that I have tested it on myself. It works, and I want to make sure that you get the most valuable, the best answers to your needs as possible. The first step is to start accepting yourself. When you accept yourself, it doesn't necessarily mean that you love yourself or that you even like yourself. So let's take it step by step. When you accept yourself, it means that you acknowledge, you start to respect who you are, and you start to see yourself in the future as a more reliable person to yourself. When something gets visible in the eyes of your mind, it means that it matters to you. It means that it counts to you. So I want you to tell yourself from now on, especially in the evening and in the morning when you wake up, and even when you pass through a mirror or in front of your phone, that's something you can use as well. Tell yourself this: I accept you, I acknowledge you, I respect you, and look yourself in the eyes. It's really important that you start seeing yourself for who you are. One more important thing is to look at yourself with love. Look at yourself as you would look at a very great friend that you want to encourage, that you want to boost. When you say that you respect yourself, be compassionate, you know that you do your very best at all times. You do the best that you can with the resources you have handy at all times. It is very difficult to go back and look at yourself with guilt. Oh, I should have done things different. No, you cannot do things different because you only do your best with with the resources that you have handy. Think about this. If you could have done more in the past, you would have done more. If you had known about a different way of dealing with certain things in the past, number one is accepting yourself. Step number two is to start trusting yourself. Know that you are reliable. You have yourself. Whatever happens, no matter what, you know that you can be there for yourself. And even if you do a mistake, you are the one that is going to know better next time. You're going to learn your lessons by asking yourself this. Think of any negative situation from your past, something that maybe keeps you with regret, something that you feel that is still keeping you tight and not letting you continue with your life, simply ask yourself this: what can I learn from this situation? What is the good, positive side? Once you get the answer to this question, you are going to have this wonderful, relieving sensation that yes, you can trust yourself. Yes, you are the one that is making mistakes, but guess what? You are the one that is getting the lessons as well. Remember, you are a human being. You are both emotional and rational, and you cannot have it right all the time. And it's not about this. Life is not about being right all the time. Life is about learning lessons. If you do a mistake, the same mistake two times, then maybe you should start asking yourself, what is keeping me to do the same mistake? What is holding me down so that I cannot evolve? But this is another topic we can talk about some other time. The first step is to accept yourself. The second step is to trust yourself. Now, the third step, yes, you guessed it, it's to love yourself. After you have your wonderful, positive self talk, encouraging, accepting talk to yourself, you're going to start asking yourself some questions, how to learn from your mistakes in order to trust yourself more. And now, in order to truly love yourself, I want you to become your strongest cheerleader. Do you know those American amazing teen movies with sports? Everyone is so happy cheering. You have this mascots running on a field. Well, I want you to imagine that you are the person that is in front of a large stadium with a lot of supporters and music and mascots. It's fun, it's games, it's, I don't know what's your favorite sport, if it's football, baseball, or even volleyball, it doesn't matter. What you need to do is to get your mind to be as supportive as the crowd cheerleading their favorite sports team. You need to start to look at yourself with love, with passion, and the self talk is going to go to a different level now. I want you to talk to yourself words and expressions as I love you, I like you, I approve of you, and I am so proud of you. And yes, I got a bit emotional here live on YouTube, but this is the self-talk that has helped me, uh, and I could not be happier that I myself managed um, to get to this point. These are tears of happiness, and I did not expect me to be so emotional, but here it is. And I want you to start using this wonderful, great opportunity to make sure that you become the the best version of yourself, because you too deserve to to be happy, to live a fear-free life, and to find love, to find love with yourself, to fall in love with yourself so deep and so strong that oh, nothing can get in the way. And I am very sure that you found our talk very useful today, and I am more than happy to know that you will put this in practice. And of course, I look forward to getting your feedback on this. How are these 3 steps to making sure that you start loving yourself unconditionally? How is this going to affect your life from now on? And I'm not even considering any exterior relationships, because I know that if you start to build yourself up, and if you develop such a strong relationship with yourself, anything that comes from the outside world is going to be pure love and happiness no matter what happens. I apologize for being so emotional. I am very happy and proud to be able to help you as well, to serve you, and to make sure that your journey with conquering your fear is extremely well taken care of by my concept, Step on Your Fears. Thank you once again for being here with me. I look forward to getting your great feedback on how has this exercise changed your life, because you can be pretty sure that it has changed my life completely. And I encourage you to visit my website, roxanapopet.com, and make sure you get the 7-step guide to permanently conquer your fears. It is an amazing visualizing exercise that I have created for you so that you can keep your mind under your control, so that you can live a fear free life and to become the best version of yourself. This exercise is actually very easy to put in practice, and I look forward to having more wonderful talks, more wonderful episodes of our podcast stories about fear. I hope you have an amazing week ahead. Happy Valentine's once again to all of you lovers, and to everyone who is starting to love themselves so much more from now on. Wishing you all of the best in the world. I will see you very, very soon.